Well, Aston Villa fans, at least Tyrone Mings didn't decide to play basketball this game. So welcome back to the channel, guys. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on Club Brugge against Aston Villa in the Champions League. But before we start, make sure you smash up those like buttons. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. But this game was always going to be a hostile, tough game for Aston Villa because you're coming up a team that's very well drilled and they act as a team more than individuals. But Aston Villa actually got off to the perfect start. Leon Bailey scoring his first ever Champions League goal, and he's been off the mark this season. Let's not lie about it. Last season he was quite exciting, he was explosive, he was dynamic, but this season not so much. So I think that goal done him the world of good, and what a beautiful strike it was. Let's talk about it, because what I loved about it, he meets the ball in his stride and he uses the pace of the ball just to half volley it and glide it with backspin on into the net. It was executed perfectly. Technically, Leon Bailey, I didn't think you had that in you, but it was technically outstanding. Leon Bailey's first UEFA Champions League goal for forever. And I thought Aston Villa from this moment were just going to manage the game, see the game out, be brave when the time's right, but also be disciplined. And I thought Club Brugge slowly began to grow into the game. First 20 minutes, Club Brugge didn't really offer much, but then their energy, their confidence really grew into the game. But let's talk about the starting 11 as well, because I think Konsa starting at right back was probably the right decision, because it's allowed in possession Villa to revert to a back three. Lucas Digne getting high and wide like he normally does and likes to do. And it really gave Aston Villa that cushion, because John McGinn and Tielemans were quite disciplined. So it allowed Aston Villa attack with five, but also defend with five, so they weren't getting caught in transitions. So I thought it was pretty smart in starting Konsa at right back. But this Club Brugge side can't be underestimated, because they've got really talented players and a really talented group of youth players. And I think Joel Odenose, I think he's a good player. The only thing that lets him down is his aerial presence. But everything else, he's outstanding. I think these are the types of players that Aston Villa can be looking at to bring in on the cheap, but also develop further and hopefully sell on in the future. If not, you've got them into your club for a long, long time. But Club Brugge legend Hans Wacken, I thought he was causing Aston Villa problems with his movement. He was drifting in and out of pockets and he was starting to find a little bit of space. But I thought Tielemans and McGinn clicked onto this quite early, and I'm glad they did. Otherwise, transitionally, Club Brugge were just going to open Aston Villa. So I thought Tielemans and McGinn weren't exceptional, but they did an exceptional professional job. But I thought throughout the 90 minutes, it was quite a fairly even game. Both teams were taking risks at the right times, but also being disciplined and trying to slow the game down at the right times. And I thought that kind of game suited Aston Villa, especially being away from home, because when it's an open game, that's when you get the crowd up and the crowd get behind the team and it can really get on top of you. So I thought Aston Villa actually managed the game really, really well. As the first half went on, Club Brugge started to gain more confidence, commit more bodies forward. But again, Aston Villa dealt with this really well. I felt the break and transition was always on for Aston Villa. I thought Bailey always had the beating of pace over Max Decipher. But Aston Villa didn't really utilise that. What I wanted to see in the middle of the pitch is just 1-2 touches. Try and find your wingers on your second touch. Receive the ball and then out in the wingers. And I think that's how Aston Villa would have won this game, because it would allow the wingers to isolate the fullbacks, but also have more space to roam into. So I kind of felt like, although I liked the discipline in Aston Villa's performance, I kind of felt like there was more opportunities to take more risks. And especially with Leon Bailey, because Max Decipher was pushing high and wide. So he had all that space to roam into, but Aston Villa just weren't getting the ball out quick enough to him. And just touch upon Max Decipher for a second, because I tweeted out about a month ago that he would be perfect as a long-term Lucas Digne replacement. His profile suits everything Emery wants from his left back. Energetic, excellent offensively, creative in the final third, and works half off the ball. He's always up and down that touchline. He's always putting crosses in. He's always putting cutbacks in. He's the type of profile that Unai Emery would absolutely love in his team. So I think this is the type of player Aston Villa can go out and sign for cover at left back. I know you've just got Ian Maatsen, but if you are looking to move on Lucas Digne, even though he is having an incredible season, that's the type of profile I would go for. But getting back to the game, thought it was controlled and cautious from both sides. Neither side wanted to lose that game. So getting on to a few individual performances, and I'm going to speak about the good and the bad from a couple of players. Leon Bailey, I thought it was an excellent strike from his first goal, and he looked really positive and lively at times. Looked like his pace could be dangerous on the counter-attack, but Aston Villa didn't really utilise it. And like I mentioned earlier, the trouble for him, he wasn't receiving the ball early enough. This meant he couldn't isolate his man in one-on-one situations or attack with depth into space. Often the ball was arriving too late, and when Club Brugge had already got up in their structure. So I kind of feel like, in comparison what we've seen from the beginning of the season, it was a much better performance from Leon Bailey, even though it wasn't outstanding. But there is improvements and signs that he is getting better. Marcus Rashford felt like he just couldn't find any rhythm into the game. Seemed like when the ball was reaching him, he was quite hesitating. He was hesitant, and he just wasn't trying to beat his man. There was a couple of times where he did, but I wanted him to like believe in himself a little bit more. I just wanted to see a little bit more because we know how dangerous and good he can be. I felt like he could have played a much more intelligent game because Unai Emery's obviously told him to stay high and wide, don't get back, don't track back as much, and let's break on Club Brugge on counter-attacks. Because of his positional play, you could see that. So I would like to see him be a bit more intelligent. Can he get closer to Ollie Watkins and bounce off each other to create space for each other, use the inside channels to affect the game? I just want to see a little bit more from Marcus Rashford. And I think the same with Morgan Rogers. I've said this before, but it's all out of love because I know how good he can be. Morgan Rogers drifts in and out of games too much. I want to see him get onto the ball a little bit more, be an outlet, be a nuisance in the final third, draw fouls to get some respite for Aston Villa, break lines the way he can with his powerful ball carrying. I want to see that from Morgan Rogers all the time, dropping deep, getting on the ball, using his body weight to manipulate in tight spaces. He's so good at it, but we don't see it often enough. And again, I'm saying it out of love because I love the guy. I know how good and effective he can be in transition moments, and that's the type of game where you want Morgan Rogers' profile to set up. Somebody that can just receive the ball on the halfway line and drive into the opponent's box. So again, just like Marcus Rashford, I felt like he just couldn't get in any rhythm, couldn't get into the game, and I'm not surprised he got brought off. But I want to talk about John McGinn and Yuri Tillemans because I've seen something a little bit different from these guys today. I said when these two play together, Aston Villa lacks some physicality, but I've seen a real disciplined performance from them. They screened the defence off the ball brilliantly. In possession, although they're both capable of taking risks and driving forward and getting in the final third, they slowed the game down when they needed and played with the right balance. And again, the defence need a lot of credit for this performance because they kept the concentration throughout the 90 minutes, and you can tell there was a lot of communication between them because shifting between a back five, a back four, and a back three, you need a lot of communication, and Aston Villa got that today. I thought the defending has been Villa's downfall in recent times, and that's just because of the lack of consistency. I think they've had 5 different back fours in the last 12 games. So that just goes, there's been no continuity, no consistency. But tonight they deserve their credit because it's not easy going to places like this. Like I mentioned earlier, Club Brugge are a good side. They beat Atalanta to get to this stage, and Atalanta are one of the success stories of European football. But we need to talk about the coach, Unai Emery. Quadruple change was brave, very brave, and it shows his ambitions and his will to win. But I don't know if it was just me. It felt like Aston Villa had another gear, maybe 2 gears to go to in this game. But what a win that is. To get a winner that late on is everything. I can just imagine how Aston Villa fans felt. Even I went crazy, and I'm not a diehard Aston Villa fan, but the game was crying out for a Marco Asensio, somebody just to cause a little bit of confusion, playing between the lines, getting on the ball, bringing others into the play, and somebody that could bring that bit of magic creativity in the final third. But it was also great to see Kamara get back on the pitch. But what a win that is. Brave substitutions from Unai Emery, and that's why he's an elite coach. That's why Aston Villa went from being in the bottom of the table of the Premier League all the way to the Champions League in the space of 2 years, because you've got an elite coach like Unai Emery. Aston Villa now have 1 foot in the quarterfinals. The won at Club Brugge away from home. The game was crying out for Marco Asensio, somebody that can come on the pitch and just spark a bit of magic, a bit of creativity in the final third. And that's exactly what we got. To score 2 goals so late on, and one coming from Marco Asensio. What's that? 4 goals in these last 2 home games. Now he's also scoring in the Champions League for you. Aston Villa fans must be sitting there thinking, what the hell is going on? Marco Asensio is delivering for you in the Champions League. Massive win for Aston Villa. What a brave manager Unai Emery is. Brave with these substitutions to bring 4 players on at once is really brave, and it just goes to show why he's such an elite coach. He's literally took Aston Villa from the bottom of the Premier League all the way to the Champions League in the space of 2 years. This is why Aston Villa are doing what they're doing. Yes, they've got unbelievable history, they've got an unbelievable fan base, unbelievable club, but they need a manager to direct these players. That's what you get with Unai Emery. By having Unai Emery, you can bring in the likes of Marco Asensio. You can bring in the likes of Marcus Rashford. Aston Villa are on a trajectory, and it's an exciting one. And they've now got 1 foot in the quarterfinals with a home game to come. What a performance. What a win. Congratulations, Aston Villa fans. The thing I've found differently in this game about Aston Villa, their maturity off the ball. Off the ball, they manage the game extremely well. I often say there's a way of winning games, controlling games out of possession. Aston Villa done that brilliantly today. Fantastic performance, honestly. I know it wasn't dazzling in the final third and you weren't creating numerous chances, but you didn't have to. You managed the game, and that's what wins away from home in the Champions League are all about. They went gun-ho tonight. They might have been caught out. They won 3-1 because they managed the game brilliantly off the ball. Congratulations on the win. Congratulations on the performance. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, up the Villa.